And did you guys want to go through Psalm 1? I was thinking to go through Psalm 1 with you and kind of look at some of the plain meanings and some of the deeper meanings if you're interested.
Yes, so it will help us memorize.
Go ahead.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, sometimes if you know the meaning, it can help you, right? Like you can be thinking, you're going along, you're like, oh, what's next? And you just remember what it is in English, and then that'll jog your memory sometimes in Hebrew. All right, so let's have a look here. So verse 1, ashrei. So who knows what ashrei means? Ashrei.
Blessed.
Happy.
That's right. Blessed, happy, lucky, but not in the sense of like rubbing the golden cat's head or something. So happy. Yeah, it's a synonym with mevaruch, right? Blessed. But this one doesn't imply necessarily anything materially. It's more about your state of being. Ashrei. Happy, ha'ish, is the man. Blessed is the man. Asher lo halach. What's that?
That walketh not.
Yeah, that's
that walk
right.
not.
Yeah, that's right. Who doesn't walk, right? Usually with a person we say who, right?
Doesn't walk. Who
Lo
doesn't
halach. All right, who doesn't walk? Okay, what is?
Inda.
Okay, this next word, it's from etsa. Etsa.
It's a counsel.
Who knows
Counsel,
what
right?
etsa means?
Ba'atzat.
Counsel?
Yes, counsel. This is the construct form of counsel, right? So etsa, it actually means counsel, like advice, but we also learn from its usage in Ugaritic that it also means counsel, like a group of people, like a governance council. So it's counsel, S-E-L, and it also means counsel, C-I-L. So it can mean either one of those. That's why I have this little Ugaritic marking here to remind you, right? So
Council of the wicked.
yeah, so
Wicked
I think
ones.
really like the council, like they're meeting together, right? I think it's going to be that one, not necessarily their advice. Because how do you walk in their advice? But in the council, right? You doesn't walk in the council of the Reshaim. What's Reshaim?
Wicked ones.
Yeah, the
Plural.
wicked ones.
Wicked.
Exactly,
Wicked
exactly. Okay, okay. Uber derech. What is the Peshat meaning? Uber derech.
Derech.
Derech, yeah.
Pathway.
Derech.
A
Way.
pathway, a way. Yup. It can be that.
And on the way.
Yeah. Derech also has some other meanings. I want to teach you some deeper meanings that we've learned from Ugaritic. In Ugaritic, there's a word dareket. Dareket, and it's from the same biblical Hebrew word, ancient Hebrew rather, and it means like dominion, or in some cases it can mean like an assembly, right? So look, the plain meaning of the psalm here, then blessed is he who doesn't walk in the counsel of the wicked, or in the way of the chataim. What's chataim? Sinners. But if we understand the Ugaritic nuance, right, the older Hebrew nuance, it could also mean nor in the dominion of the sinners or in the assembly of the sinners, right? So this is interesting. If you chose counsel here, then assembly makes some sense, doesn't it? Especially when you see the next part. Lo amad. What's that? Lo amad.
Does not stand.
It does not stand. Exactly. It does not stand.
Question?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Rabbi?
Sure.
Would you say uvedere? Uvedere can also mean in the Ugaritic way, the dominion?
Yeah.
But isn't that kind of scary? Then if you're walking in the way of the wicked, you're under their dominion.
Well, that's right. That's why this guy's ashrei, because he doesn't do it, right? He lo amad.
Oh, that's scary.
But he doesn't amad, you see?
Okay.
Yeah, that's why he's ashrei. Yeah, but it also as dominion,
So, Rabbi,
as it can also mean.
Means,
go ahead.
So, Rabbi, it means that do not allow the sin rule over you.
Nice. There could be that nuance there. There could be. Now, I think what's happening here, and these comments I got from Mitchell Dahood in his commentary, and I think he might be correct. So what he's doing, if I remember, it's been a long time since I studied this one, he's taking counsel, since that's like a body, right? And then he's taking derech, and he's taking how would dominion be a body? And so that could be like an assembly, right? So maybe not dominion, but maybe the assembly of sinners, lo amad. He does not stand. Now, amad can be used in political things, like with the kings of Israel. To amad can mean to participate, right? Like you might have a member of the council. He stands up and he's going to cast a vote or share his idea or something, right? So there could be a technical political thing that's happening with amad here, right? So he doesn't get involved politically with the wicked even. It could really have that meaning. Right? He doesn't take a stand in their governing body, right? So you see what happens. This is perfectly legitimate interpretation because the Hebrew words are influenced by the words around them, so that we get a more concrete technical sense of what's happening. So if we understand this to be counsel, C-I-L, then it makes sense for this to be assembly of sinners. He's not participating in their assembly, is he? Lo amad. He doesn't stand in their assembly. He doesn't sit in the council. He doesn't. Pardon me. He doesn't walk in the council. He doesn't stand in the assembly. And moshav leitzim lo yashav. Okay, so the next verb is going to be lo yashav. What's lo yashav?
Not dwell.
Well,
Not sit.
that's
Not
well.
sit. Sit is the nuance I'm looking for.
Not
He doesn't
sit.
sit, right? He doesn't walk in the council. He doesn't stand in the assembly, and he doesn't sit in the what? Moshav leitzim. What is a moshav?
Sit.
Dwelling.
S-E-A-T.
Dwelling.
Okay, it can mean dwelling. It can mean dwelling, but it also has
Assembly.
yeah, something like assembly. So session,
Assembly.
maybe like session of leitzim. Who knows leitzim?
Let's see. Wicked. Scoffer.
Yeah, scoffers.
Arrogant.
That's right, scoffers.
Foreigners.
Exactly.
Scoffers,
Scorners or
yes.
scoffers. So look at this. If we go with this deeper meaning influenced by the older meanings of the words, blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel, C-I-L, of the evildoers, of the wicked ones, of wicked people, right? Nor in the assembly of sinners does he participate, i.e., stand. Nor in the session of scorners or scoffers. And in the session of scoffers, he does not sit. Right? So he's not participating in all of these apparati that are used by wicked peoples. It's interesting, right? Either one is correct. You can also do just the more plain pashat and very literal. Blessed is a man who does not walk in the counsel, S-E-L, counsel, like the advice of sinners, of wicked people, nor in the way of sinners does he stand. Although standing in the way, it kind of seems like if the sense is to stand, why do we have derech then? Derech is something in which you halach, not really, the imagery of amad seems to break down a little bit, but maybe not. Uv moshav, nor in the dwelling place of scoffers does he does not live. He doesn't live with them, right? So really you have two choices. You can go either way on this. So I think this is something that's amazing about the Psalms, guys. With the Psalms you will find there's no end to your learning. There's no end to how deep they are. The possible meanings
Yes,
of them.
Rabbi.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the psalm is very useful, especially on these days. My friends want to invite me about drinking session,
Oh, see?
and then the Ruach came to my mind. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halak ba'etsa
Hallelujah. Look at
I
that.
said to them, no,
Look at that. Look at that. You see?
Wow.
What you're doing is you're
It's the
arming the Ruach. You're arming the Ruach. The more Hebrew you guys learn, this is going to happen to you. You'll be preaching and you'll be surprised. Like you're preaching or sharing with people or something. And like in your case, like you said, you'll be so shocked the things your mind will remember. Like I find myself remembering, just certain phrases I didn't even try to memorize in Hebrew. They come to mind when I'm giving a drash or something. Because just like you said, you've now made those tools internalized so that the Ruach can present them to you. Yeah? Even Greek phrases, they'll come to mind, stuff that comes to mind. And afterwards you're like, I can't believe I remembered that stuff. I can't believe that came out. I didn't plan on talking about that. And just like in your case, the Ruach used it to show you exactly the right thing to the situation. That's beautiful. I love that. Nice testimony. Very good, very good. So really the Psalms are so, so powerful. And to say them aloud with your lips, the power in your household, the peace you can bring to a situation. Yeah.
Comment.
Yes, please.
Comment. If we could also, as we examine the verbs, like walking, walking, standing, and sitting, there is a progression. So
Ooh,
we could view this as a progression of your being involved
very
in
nice.
wickedness. First of all, you walk with them, and then you stand with them, and then you dwell with them. So
Yeah,
it's getting more and more of you.
that's very good. Very good. Everybody got the point he's making? Your momentum is slowing down, right? First, you're actually moving. Halach, you're walking. Now you've stopped walking and you're amad, you're standing, omed. And then you finally decide to sit down and live with them. I like that. Nice observation. See, that's very great. This is what I hope for too with classes, that it starts with me teaching you guys, and then as we progress, it's me learning from you guys. That's really what my hope has been. Baruch Hashem. And so like next year and the years in the future, we'll just be studying together. Yeah, all teaching each other. Beautiful. That's a very nice observation, Doc. Yeah, go ahead. I can't hear you, sister.
And then dominion over you. They have dominion over you.
Yeah.
Because the more you play with them.
Oh yes. Good point. Good point. Yeah, if we interpret this as drkt, as dominion, then yeah, that's right. The more you're interacting, the more you're with them, you're just being around them, then yeah, it definitely slows down your progress spiritually. Very true. And of course, halach is a loaded word already, right? Halach already would hint to the Jewish mind thousands of years ago that we're talking about a spiritual walk. Even today, right? A lot of the Gentile Christians will even say, how's your walk, brother? And how's your walk, sister? Right? So that has even come from the Hebrew into English now. It's even influenced English in a spiritual sense. Yeah, so whenever you see halach, I can't see halach without thinking halacha. Halacha, Jewish law, halacha, right? So, yeah, very nice. The way in which we walk. Okay, let's look at verse 2. That's great. So verse 1 already it's loaded, isn't it, with meaning? It's what linguists call a pregnant expression, right? Because there's so many nuances in there that the author, he might have even intended them all in this case, right? So of course we know it's divinely inspired. So not just poetic, but on a whole other level of poetry. And this is what you guys are going to find, like in my own walk with the Psalms. I remember years back, I started off with this, and it's funny, people, they kind of get on to me, like, why don't you know Tagalog by now? You've been here a decade. And, really what's happened with me is I've got other stuff I'm studying, working on biblical Hebrew, working on the Greek, and this stuff's more exciting, especially since not everybody here speaks Tagalog. I used to go to teach in Cebu, and when I go to Cebu, they hated to hear me say things in Tagalog to them. So, all right, the whole country's not even united with Tagalog, and there's no great literature that's out there in Tagalog, right? There's not tomes of philosophy, right, to encourage. And so I kept getting tempted to go deep with the Hebrew or go deep with the Greek. So just kind of, so you guys can understand, an apology for me why I'm not deep in the Tagalog. That's why. There's this, I started with a project, maybe it was, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago or so, maybe less, maybe more 6 years ago, and I called it Psalms Mastery, right? And I convinced myself that in 6 months I would master the Psalms, right? That's the lie I told to myself. And so I went through and I learned all the glosses, right? Learned all the words, what they're supposed to mean according to top glosses and stuff. That a gloss is where you just learn 1 or 2 meanings for a word and then you're done with the word, right? And I thought, great. And I was going through the Psalms, and I felt it was a big leap spiritually. I really felt it, right? Reading with understanding, going through the Psalms every week, just very, very powerful, a big move for me. And then I came across Ugaritic. And I found, oh my gosh, so many of these Psalms, they might mean something else. Especially, and then I got this commentary by Dahood, and oh my gosh, really the eyes were opened. Because this man, he knew Phoenician, he knew Punic, he knew Ugaritic, of course Aramaic and all the various flavors and the Sifrei and all that stuff. And even though he's not Jewish and not from our tradition, he still was familiar with many of the writings of the sages, and his linguistic aptitude was just fantastic. It's a shame he died at 60 years of age, but anyway, his commentary on the Psalms just fantastic. And so then I started going through that, and there's so much there with Phoenician endings and Ugaritic. And he would say, look, this exact phrase they found in the Baal epic over here, but it's used many times. And so Psalms is packed with hapax legamemnon, words that occur only one time in the entire Bible, right? But many of those words, it turned out, were used in Ugarit all over the place. And so we can get a better understanding of the nuance of the word. And so now I've gone through and I've actually discovered that you may think you know everything there is to know from the Psalm, and then there's a whole other side to it. Like many of the Psalms, they have hidden words which are the names of levels of hell, right? Gehinnom, places in hell. or they're names of demons, which is they're the normal words. You think you know it from the Peshat meaning, and you find out that these are names of demons. Like, I will not fear the pestilence that walks at the noontime, right, and all that stuff, right? And it turns out, well, Reshef was the name of one of the Canaanite gods who shot his fiery arrows, right? And the psalmist saying, I'm not going to fear that demon, right? And then he mentions another one, pestilence. And it turns out that this was another one of the gods of Ugaritic, right? And the psalmist is replying, I'm not afraid of that fallen son of God because I have the true God, right? And so it appears on the surface just to be, I'm not afraid of the arrow that flies by noonday or the pestilence that walks at noon, all this stuff. It's on a much deeper spiritual level. I'm not scared of their demons, he's saying, and he's calling them out by name. And so there's a lot of stuff like that. There's a whole other level in the Psalms where we can love them just reading them in Hebrew and just having that high level Peshat translation. But as you've seen here, just in the first verse, when you go a bit deeper, there's a lot more happening under the hood. And I quickly learned that the 6 months quote unquote mastery was a joke. It just was a joke. And but it's been a beautiful, beautiful discovery, and it keeps giving fruit. And just like sister and brother, just like you two were saying, Naomi and Yomar, it's already, you feel the impact in your life immediately, don't you, when you memorize a psalm. And as you get deep in them and you're saying them, it makes you a better person. Reading the Psalms aloud makes you a better person. This is something that the sages teach, and I've seen it for sure. When I'm saying the Psalms out loud, introspection happens. It's like the Spirit shines the light on you and on your deficiencies and the things that need to be improved and how you failed and if you've been a hypocrite or whatever you've done that's wrong. So reading the Psalms out loud makes us better people. And so how much more so memorizing them then? So the more that we get memorized, it can help us to be sensitive. And especially with you guys, and I say this meaning that you're in the same group as me, right? The same class of Hebrew student as me. Those of us who dabble in the original languages, we have to be very careful not to get haughty, right? Because the Lord hates someone with haughty eyes. And so the Psalms, they help keep us humble. It's another nice function. It helps you keep you humble in two ways. One, spiritually, with the introspection, and two, in that you realize, oh my gosh, there's so much I don't know. I thought I knew it, but I don't know it. I don't know it yet. There's so much more digging to do. So anyway, I hope you guys.
Yes. Are you referring to Psalms 91 about the pestilence and the arrows?
Yes.
You're referring, that's Psalms 91.
Yes. Yeah. There's a whole other level that's going on with names of gods of other countries and levels of hell and stuff like that. Yeah, and then there's names for various levels in heaven in some of the Psalms too, like you have caused my stride to be extended, to be rachiv, right, to be wide in the merchav, in his broad domain, right? And so on the first level, he made my strides wide in a wide place. Okay, but when we learn later that this is the name of part of heaven that's known as the broad domain, it's a huge expanse, and that you've caused my stride to be. He's talking about the afterlife. He's talking about how Hashem has pulled him up from the Eretz. Even the word Eretz, you will find, means the netherworld. So yes, it means land, but also in Psalms oftentimes means the netherworld, i.e. Sheol, right? And so there's a lot of these double meanings to the words that they don't really have in other places in Scripture that are going to come out in the Psalms, and it's just really powerful and lovely. I hope you guys will be edified by it. Yeah, so let's go. So
sometimes I play the Hebrew Psalms when I'm doing house church and stuff. I just play the Hebrew Psalms, and then when I actually have time to go back and read it, it's like you're more familiar with the Psalms because you know how it sounds.
yes, exactly. I can relate to that. Before I understood the Psalms, I would still say them, right? As a Jewish tradition, I would still try to go through them, sometimes on a monthly pattern, sometimes on a weekly. And I found that exact same thing happening to me. Like, there was this familiarity with the psalm. When you'd be saying it, even if you didn't understand, like your mind didn't understand, it felt like kind of, I don't know, like something, familiar. You hit on the head. It felt familiar. Like, this is right. This is correct.
So that's why I shared. I sent the invite to our beginner biblical Hebrew classes,
Uh-huh.
and I told them that they can have access to the Hebrew Psalms if they want to.
Oh, great. Very nice. Very, very nice.
Internet access, then at least they don't have to have internet access to listen to the Hebrew Psalms.
That's great. Yeah, they can
And then it's
download it and
really
have it.
going to help them. Yeah, so it's really going to help them when they have time to actually read, and then they already know what that psalm says. They know how it sounds, and then they know when they're reading it in English and in Hebrew, they can connect what the Hebrew words mean in English. So the way the mind works is that we connect it because we already know. So that's also going to help with vocabulary later on.
That's an excellent idea. That's an excellent idea. I like it. I like it so much. Also, just having the Hebrew word of the Psalms being spoken in your environment. I mean, who knows what level of spiritual advantage there is to that? Having it spoken. You think demons like to hear that? You think if there's a demon hanging around outside the window or something? I mean, I'm not saying demons are everywhere, but let's say there's a wicked spirit out there. You think it wants to hear the Psalms in Hebrew? Of course, it doesn't want to hear that. So I think there's a whole. It ministers to us, and it also ministers to our environment as well. And, people talk about talking to plants and stuff. I wonder if reading Hebrew Psalms to plants, what that does. If something happens from that or not. Why not? So, okay, lovely, lovely. Really good examples, guys. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are getting excited about this too. Okay, look, we're at 6:30, so I think we are going to go ahead and need to end it here. But we just the first verse. Look how much richer this is. Doc, I really like your point about halach, and then amad, and then yashav. That's a very good observation. Yeah.
Yeah, praise the Lord.
Yeah, hallelujah. Okay, great job, everybody, today. Look, let's continue. Those of you who didn't finish memorizing your psalm, memorize your psalm. And look, I have some homework for you that I hope you'll find interesting. Let me pull it up.